Hello viewers, welcome back to the Moose Mobile Auto Repair channel, and today I just wanted to discuss about the Toyota OEM original engine mounts and the aftermarket engine mounts. And now today I have two engine mounts here. Both are new, but this one here is the aftermarket one. I had to modify it to try to get it to fit, but I had problems. It would not go in no matter what. So I tried to modify this and stuff, but it was not working. This costed me about $65, tax in my cost. And over here is the OEM Toyota engine mount. This costed me 320 plus taxes. So that's is roughly around like 5 to 6 times the cost of this over here. So in my previous videos, I put up a couple videos for replacing the rear engine mount, and there was a short video that I made recently. I gave a quick tip on where to jack up the transmission so it'll be easy to remove and drop in the engine mount to install it, remove and reinstall. It would make it easier because the power steering rack is typically in the way. This is for a 2003 to 2008 Toyota Corolla with the automatic transmission, and this would also fit other Toyota vehicles such as like other later model Corollas and Matrix and Pontiac Vibe and so forth. They use the same engine mount. This is for the rear, in case if you guys don't know. I forgot to mention earlier in the video on which vehicle this was for. Specifically, this is for a 2005 Corolla with the automatic transmission. And so the problem with these is sometimes they can be tricky to take out and to install, because the main problem with this mount is basically the way the shape is. It's a very odd shape mount. That is number one. And this stupid long stud here that is typically is problematic. So it's difficult to get it in. You need to fish it inside. And I know some people have stated, oh, to drop the subframe a little bit, but sometimes that can be a bit more work, depending if the subframe bolts cooperate or not, because I've seen subframe bolts break on this generation Corollas if you're not careful. So you have to be very, very careful. When I do a repair, I sometimes like to remove the minimal amount of things just to get it done, because sometimes if you disturb too many things, you will cause more problems. Now, of course, in some circumstances, it may be okay to remove more stuff to give you more access and more room to do things. So yeah, it will be easier in some circumstances, but not always. So it really depends, and that's where the experience comes into play, because I don't want to disassemble the entire vehicle and spend so many hours replacing the stupid mount when I don't need to do all of those things. And the reason why I'm making this video is to make you aware of the problems with aftermarket parts, because lately, in the last few years or so, maybe since 2020 or 2021, just after the pandemic time, there's been an increase of too much too many problems with the aftermarket parts. It's not only limited to engine mounts, but other things also. I'm not saying that all aftermarket parts are garbage, but it's sometimes it's a hit and miss. Some aftermarket parts are nice because I can get them ordered and delivered easily. They are readily accessible, and so aftermarket parts can be easy to get and to put them in sometimes, not all the time. But another good thing about aftermarket parts is that sometimes the OEM original part had a design flaw, and so sometimes the aftermarket company that designs a specific part, they have an improved version or improved design of that specific part. So they change it in such a way to make it work better in your vehicle than what the original part had. So that's one reason why you may use aftermarket parts. But lately I've been having too many problems, and it's been starting to piss me off. Excuse me for my language. I've been getting really upset now these days. This aftermarket garbage is just way too much now. Because the issue is when I want to fix a vehicle or a customer's vehicle, I just want to do the job once and that's it and get it done. I don't want to do the job multiple times, 2, 3, 4 times. There's a loss of productivity after that. It's just a waste of my time after that. And that's the main reason why I hate aftermarket parts in some circumstances. So it's giving me a lot of headaches now. The parts don't fit, the holes don't line up, you have to modify the part and so on. So we're just going to compare the original OEM part and the aftermarket part. This one aftermarket part, I attempted to modify this because I was so frustrated. I don't know if I will be able to exchange or return because I already modified the part. So I got too frustrated, and that happens sometimes when you work on cars. It's one of those days where you just have to stop and take a break and try again tomorrow. And then when you try the next day, everything goes in smoothly like butter. So this is by Anchor Industries. 9155 is the part number for this mount. And this is the original Toyota OEM mount. And that part number for the rear mount, it comes in a plastic bag. It's like this, a Ziploc bag with the Toyota part number on it. 12371-0D110. They call it insulator engine mount rear, something like that. So we're just going to go to the workbench or table just to have a closer look at these, just to compare the quality differences. So we are here on the workbench. So we're gonna compare the aftermarket, which is this one on the right, and the OEM part. So you can tell almost right away the differences in quality by having a look at the welds. You can tell by looking at the welds and the construction of the mount. The sleeve is almost perfectly straight with no imperfections. And when you compare this, it's not straight. The sleeve is not straight going around for the bushing for the rubber. And the quality of the rubber is is a lot better than the aftermarket one. But it's hard to tell sometimes just by looking at the rubber, but I know that the quality is a lot better on the OEM part than the aftermarket part. You really have to have a closer look at this because you can't really tell from a distance. So the welds are a lot better going around here. They are not perfect, but they are somewhat decent. So you want to compare the welds here. I hammered out the stud. I hammered out the stud here because I was so like frustrated. So compare this and compare this. Here you can see that this one is way better than the aftermarket one. You can tell how cheap the welds are here in comparison to the uh, uh, original part. And this one has the protective sleeve. I think this is insulation from the exhaust manifold area so that heat does not get inside here or something. I don't know. It's just the overall look and the feel is completely different compared to the aftermarket garbage. It's lighter too. This one is a bit lighter, I think. This one is heavier. The rubber on the aftermarket, they may seem they may be decent, but it's hard to tell sometimes. It doesn't move as much. The OEM moves a lot more than the aftermarket ones, but that does not mean that the quality is not good. It's supposed to move. In this piece, the center top piece, there's like a damper, a piece, a cubical or a rectangular piece that's installed inside here. Just some dampening, vibration dampening characteristics. In my honest opinion, I know that this part is not $300-400. It doesn't even cost them that much to make these. So that's what I know right away. One other thing I forgot to mention are the studs. Have a look at the studs. They are usually of cheaper quality on the aftermarket parts, and sometimes when you zip the nuts and bolts in, if you're not careful enough, even if you slightly tighten it by slightly too much, it's possible to strip out and damage the threads and the metal on the studs. That's for that, the aftermarket one on the right. This is the OEM one. It doesn't show the grade on the stud. It's supposed to show if it's a graded stud or something, but it does not say that. But almost right away I can tell the quality is so much better than the aftermarket ones. This one says it's an 8.8 graded stud. So I attempted to modify this to get this to fit, but it just would not work. And I verified the part number is correct and the same. Just put this side to side. I just had some problems trying to line this up when I was trying to get it in. You can see the corners. If you look at the corners, they're not exactly the same. Here is less material in the back here. This is not that much piece of metal that sticks out on both ends. Here you see there's a lot of metal sticking out on both ends here. It's so much bigger than the original. Here is a lot less, more like a lower profile than compared to this one. This one is so much more surface area of the metal here. So that is definitely going to be problematic. Although you can still get this installed and everything, but you're gonna have a difficult time trying to get the aftermarket ones, in which I often do. Even though I've done this job maybe over half a dozen or so times on these vehicles, I have to remove it and reinstall them. Sometimes when I'm not even replacing them, even with the original part, I still have a hard time sometimes. But the aftermarket ones they'll still go in, but you're gonna have a heck of a time trying to get them in. It's just that this mount is a pain in the butt sometimes. I know that some people can get these in relatively easy, but it seems like no matter how many times I do this job, I always have somewhat of a struggle in trying to get it in. So we're going to turn this over, compare the other side. I modified this area. I grinded it down on some of the Anchor 9155 engine mount. You have to grind a section off and like a tiny portion of the metal out to get it to fit. Otherwise, it will never go in. So you can tell the difference on how the shape and the design is, the corners and the angles compared to this. It's not the same. It's completely different. You can tell that it's way off compared to the original part. The nut, the welded nut, the fixed nut here is also a lot better quality compared to this one. And one other thing is that this piece, the bushing sleeve, it sticks out a lot more than the original part. And this sleeve it sticks out a lot more than the original part, even though that this piece is still inside here. So that's all I wanted to discuss about today. You guys let me know in the comments if you have dealt with these engine mounts before, and let me know on what your experience is. My experience is that every time I deal with these engine mounts, I always have a little bit of a hard time. I always have to wrestle with them all the time. Now, there are some times I'm able to get them out and in easy, but other times I always have a difficult time. I'm not sure why. So I will admit that they can be a pain in the butt because of the stupid stud here. That makes it a whole lot more difficult to do. And I know on these Corolla and Matrix models and so on that use the same engine mount, the power steering rack is usually in the way, and sometimes that causes problems. So you just barely have enough room to get the stud through. Just after where the power steering rack is, you're just barely able to get it through. Now, the worst case scenario is that even if you jack up the transmission all the way up and you remove the other mounts to make it easier if you want to, it just it's it makes it difficult. Some people, they say to drop the subframe a few inches or so just to give you enough room. Usually I don't remove any engine mounts on the vehicle. I just support the transmission all the way as much as I can go without damaging the other mounts until I'm able to get this out and to reinstall it. Anyways, that's it for today, and I'll see you guys next time.